welcome to a new video. My name is John Skippy Limcool. Welcome. Hey, listen to those really cool sounds. Some of those sounds didn't exist in the original version of that library that you're listening to. This is a video showing you everything that's going on with the Unify version of MegaMagic Bells and Winds. It's updated with a lot of new samples, a whole lot of really cool stuff. Now, just a little history real quickly. This library came out for Omnisphere 9 years ago in August. We're just about to hit August here in 2025. This was one of numerous MegaMagic libraries that I made for Omnisphere because Omnisphere, it was cool. They did this update from version 1 to 2, and at the time you could load one sample, and it's still only one sample into the patch per oscillator. And so we could do cool things, but it was only one sample across the whole keyboard. And finally, the time has come to do the update to this library. It's one of the very last ones to be updated. There's still one more Creature-esque, a vocal library that I'm definitely waiting until Unify 2 is out, because there's some things there I want to use on that library. Because we'll talk about that when we can talk about that. But this is a really, really fun library that's been greatly expanded. I've added this kalimba, a 2-octave kalimba, 24 notes sampled. Each note has 3 samples for round robin. This wood kalimba was sampled as well, and that's 1 octave of 3 sample round robin. And I also sampled this. This is a school glockenspiel. And as you can see, I taped this up for the final. There's 3 different mallets that I used to sample all the diatonic notes. For up to like A. Above that, it didn't sound very good. But for the last one, I used a very soft timpani mallet. And because of the way that it would play and because of the girth of it, it would trigger the other mallets around it. So I had to tape up everything else so it wouldn't ring. So I have really pure tone. So on top of everything else in the library that it came with, 170 samples in the Omnisphere version, if you go down here to Bell, you can get here to the school glockenspiel. Here's the hard. Again, it's round robin, so you play the same note. Sounds like you're playing it. The soft was with a rubber mallet, so it's a... But quite honestly, a week ago, well, maybe even like less than that, just like 3 or 4 days ago, 4 or 5 days maybe, I decided that that wasn't soft enough. I wanted even more soft and magic, so here is the timpani mallet. Again, round robins. And we have a killer filter in Guru Sampler, so it can be even more dynamic and more natural than if I had different velocity switching samples, because then you go from one type of sample to an abrupt jump. You can do more with a good filter and velocity. Like that. Now, on top of this, there's really cool reverb versions. And as you can see, I've got this, if it's muted, if I just turn that on. And you'll notice that the reverb is separate from the dry sample. So I could go over here to the actual reverb, move the sample start up. And I'm playing reverb. Isn't that cool? So there's all sorts of cool ways of, I've learned a lot since the library came out in 2016. So I'm incorporating all the stuff I've learned. On top of that, all of these have custom images for every patch family. So Lively Vibes has very lively. I'll do a walkthrough in a minute. We'll get a little bit more detail-y. Cowbell, here's with reverb. This is one of the original samples that came with the original library. And there's your cowbell. Not the one that I actually sampled, but pretty close. And on top of that, there's a whole series of samples down here in the PLUCKS that I did not include that were made in 2016. But because either like Spirit Harp, it required 8 samples and velocity switches to a... right? Or there's these different nebulas that are velocity switching between like a more... that kind of thing. If you put those all on velocity switch, this patch has 3 layers, and here's your velocity windows for each layer. So it can soft, medium, to hard. All that kind of cool stuff like that, right? On top of that, here is the wood kalimba. And then above that is the gourd, and it says RR because it's round robins. And then there's reverb versions. There's bonus patches, Steve Tavglione's incredible samples that were in the original MegaMagic Bells and Winds. They're still here. He does film scores, and so he uses his flute to play all sorts of really cool, these tongue harmonics. There's a water phone in here. Where's the water phone? Flute and water phone. Really, really cool. So there's a lot to this library, more than double the samples found in the original, and custom images for each of the patches. Inside of Unify 2, this image is actually loaded into the background. It's so cool. So this library's kind of been designed. We're getting close on Unify 2 coming out, and so these libraries, I'm planning and preparing and making sure that they work and look great in Unify 2, as well as here in Unify for the artwork, because this is something that's loaded in the background of every image. So when you call up a flute, you know, the dry, but it's the loops and the MegaMagic versions that are just... And then the loop version of this is just... Now, loop in this library means pad. So through the whole library, anywhere you see loop, that means that it's a slow attack. It's been looped, and so you can play it as a pad. And also there's some pads here that were not included in the first version of this library. So, like, this is new. And I love this artwork. Isn't that cool for parachutes? And then there's also the Purity Revival. Appropriate image to inspire you when you look at it, and then play the sounds. So it's a very fun library. There's only one more to go after this, like I said, Creature-esque, which will be coming out after Unify 2 is out. So here we go. Let's do the walkthrough. So bells. There's no basses because I didn't want... I could turn the bells into basses, but nah. So there's 2 different loop versions. And the custom artwork for... Right? And then the original with... Okay. Baby bell, dry. And the artwork, it's a baby bell. with the reverb or as a loop. Really nice. The barbell. And then there's the reverb. Just got that ambience to it, or the loop version for add chorus. Actually, there's a chorus right here. Just got to bring it up. So go here to the chorus. Right? Okay. There's a bright marimba. Now, I'll be honest with you. This is a synth program where I clamped down on the envelopes of the long reverb version in order for it to seem like a... I actually didn't record it dry, but it works. It sounds really good in a mix. And here's where it came from, the reverb version. Nice. And then the loop. And it's a good time to show you on the macro page, you've got release as a control, so you can also have the attack and the decay. And if decay's not working, open up Goo Sampler and you'll notice that maybe the sustain is up, so turn that all the way to 0. Now the decay works. Right, so we got that kind of stuff. Carillion log drum. This is a synthesized patch. And then the loop version is nice. And then Chorus Dreams is really nice, and the loop is really right. I love this artwork for this one. I should play majors since we got an angel leaping in heaven. Anyway, so you get the idea. So now chorus Marimglock. Again, synthesized. There's 2 versions. And a magical thing with Unify is you just go over here, say instrument 1 only, go back to some of these others, say chorus dreams, and let's go like maybe a bell bar. It's added those into this. So this guy go, your envelope isn't quite what I want, so let's have it come down in volume like that, so it sits a little nicer. So, bells for days. Easy to make all sorts of really cool, beautiful, magical bells. We were down here like lively vibes. Again, synthesized. That's our lively dudes. MegaMagic. This is the Magic Ice Wand. How's that for cool artwork? Cool stuff. I hit the animate button on that, and it's so cool how he's animated and doing all sorts of interesting things. Let's see. Middle airy dry, looped, and with the reverb. Robotalica has got this really cool. The school Glockenspiel. This is the. You can. If you're a Rush fan, you'll know that little melody. Here's the soft. Again, and then this very soft. Now let this ring all the way out. It's how hard to, when you're sampling these, you have to hold your breath, hold it still. I'll tell you a technique that's a trick. When I sampled this, you don't want to put something like this on a table. If you put it on a table, when you hit it, the table also will resonate. So in order to sample this, here I'll pop up a picture. You hold it like this with your hand while you play it. So that way it's grounded to your skin, and your skin's not a resonating like wood or something like that. You put it on a chair or any kind of a table, it's going to give all sorts of additional noises to the sounds from the table. So instruments like this, hold them when you sample them. How's that for a free tip? That's a good one. That's a good one that most people won't tell you about because they don't know that. But anyway, there you go. Now you do. Keeping us going, here are the different process versions. Really went for dreamy, magical on these. And because it's the reverb as a separate sample, you can set this to instrument one and go to any other sample in the library. We could go over here to the cowbell and say, give me a cowbell. And I could go up here and I could add airy black. And I could go to the reverb and I could say, no, I want the samples to start later. And you can change and shape these in such really cool, fun, creative ways. It's all clay. So it's up to you to play with it in any way you want. All right. Space Glock. There's 3 or 4 different. I mean, each bell has such a distinct, different personality. That's why this library is so useful to so many, because it's just crazy flexible. If you go all the way back to my voicing work with Korg, the Wave Station, the T Series, O and W, even the Z1, I made bell patches for all of those because I love bell patches. So bells is one of my things that I'm very, very experienced at. So anyway, here's the kalimbas from the full library, meaning that it was just one sample. It plays pretty well across the whole keyboard, but you can hear it's a little sloppy and stuff down here. If you compare this to the PLUCKS, and let's just go to even to this, the pluck with the wood, which is only 1 octave, even there. Plays so much more naturally and realistically than up here. And these should have been put into the pluck category, but since I had them in the bell category for other libraries, I kept them here. But there's all sorts of variations of these. Here's the reverb version of 3. Right. Right? So there's 7 different ones. Right? And then some chord jams, which is this really cool ambient thing. More bells. These are synthetic vapor. Let's see, what artwork do we have for Vapor Beam? Yeah, kind of mysterious. Woodpecker mallet. Then the parachute pad, into the pads. And these are looped, and they have a really cool resonant wow to them. Here's one more I showed you earlier, the Purity. And again, this is lots of samples, not like hundreds, but it's more samples than I wanted to try to map inside of Omnis here too, so I didn't include it in the first version. Here's the ankle bells. Dry. And they just play and then they just stop. But the MegaMagic reverb ones, I looped. So you can have this cool texture that just keeps playing. Can always be there over pads and stuff like that. It's very, very flexible, very cool for texturizing things and so forth, right? And there's two different variations. There's a different vibe, different reverb processing and stuff. Then we get to the PLUCKS. And this is, again, a category that didn't exist in the first version of the library. So there's all these, the brass PLUCKS is really nice. Got a really cool vibe to it. The gourd kalimba. And again, because of the filtering and stuff, I can get it to sound so much more realistic than if I had this doing a three-way velocity switch. Because you hear ho, ho, ha, ha, eh, eh. It'd be three different samples you'd be jumping between. You have to be lots of velocity switches and know what you're really doing before it works very well. So I'd rather do just deeper level programming to do that. Nebular. These PLUCKS are so cool. It's so funny that I forgot that I had these. I was looking for the artwork of the original library, so I had to go back to an old hard drive, and I found this folder. And I was like, what? I didn't know I had all these. So it's a bonus for me as well as for you that these exist. These are really, really cool. People Pluck is... Want to see cool artwork? I love this one. Yeah, holding hands with our synthesizers, right? And here is Spirit Harp Complete. Right? And then down here are the different samples that are in the different, there's harp 1 and harp 2. One was a lower sample, one was a higher sample. So that's why they work really well on a split keyboard kind of a scenario. Unison Eternal. This is the velocity switch between these three patches, so from soft. Kind of a thing, right? And then again, the wood kalimba. And if you want, all you have to do is go over here and say instrument 1, and let's say velocity switching Spirit Harp. Oh, but I want to actually, this is one of those cases because it's velocity switching lots of layers. Instrument 1 won't work. I want to say Unify layer, so it loads the whole patch. Here for the volume of each. Really, really, really nice. Okay, so there's your PLUCKS. lots and lots of plucks to play with, which is nice. And then we get to the wood flutes and the pan flutes and stuff here. So there's a whole bunch of takes. Dry, and then the dries are really there for you to process them your own unique way with your own reverb and stuff in your DAW if you want to use them. They're not very convincing. Maybe they are if you depending on what your production is, of course, and so forth. But the dry ones are really there for you to have them to work with and do your own pre-processing. It's the pads that are really nice here. So anytime that you see the loops, these are nice for right? Harmonica, I have a little echo harp that I brought with me to the session. My mama makes a pasta so good. Right, for that kind of a thing. But the loops and the reverb versions are really sweet. And a very different texture and sound that you... So, very nice. Some of the dry ones you can actually use for... I wouldn't say you can do Stevie Wonder with them, but they're still pretty useful. There's some chords, which is cool fun. The pan flute. If you want to get your Peter Gabriel on, you can do it that way or with a reverb. Kind of a vibe. So there's a whole bunch of these. We got cool artwork for the Taylor did some of these. It's really fun. And they just work so nicely with pads and so forth. If you take this, let's say go to Unify layer to make sure we get everything, but go up here to the pads. We could say give us purity and a parachute and a... You can see how it's just a really cool texture. Right? So there's a lot of the different winds to play with. The Steve Tavglione patches as a bonus are really fun for the harmonics and motion, all sorts of cool stuff. Right? It has all these improvising parts and stuff in there. Here's the dry. Isn't that cool? So fun. So there's and then these with reverb are super haunting. Isn't that cool? Really fun. So all of these patches are there. Thank you, Steve, for letting us include these. Even whistles at the end, so you can that kind of a thing, and a single whistler, so that that kind of thing. And then there's bonus patches. I've made some nice, I think 25 bright bells. And artwork for each one of these, so you can right? Really fun. Storybook Princess. I love this artwork. Check this out. Isn't that nice? So, all sorts of patches. Here's some pads. This has a little groove to it, so you can hear how I could use it in a drum thing. Get a cool bass line going with this. You know, maybe mute the kicks. So you just have the pad part if you want. Off you go. The WS are wave sequence patches, so we it's cycling through all these layers. Pretty cool, right? There's some fun versions of keyboards. I especially like this magical moment. Something kind of cool and different sounding, right? There's really cool pads. Like Enigma pads, you know, if you're familiar with Enigma. If not, look it up. You got to hear Enigma. Wet air. Nice. This really cool simple chords. And something like this, let me point out, this is one of those where you could open up one of these layers and here's all of the different the winds and flutes. Choose a different one that's a loop. Go to the like harmonicas if you want. And if you go over here and change this to bells, then you have all of these because there's a lot of samples in this library. So you could go over here and say something like maybe grain verb, MegaMagic reverb, and then take it up an octave and open up the filter. Let's see, I think we've got a chow tape on this, so we could turn it down. So, there's so many different kind of sounds you can get from this. And then finally, Echo Canyon. And again, if you open this up, let's open this layer here up. You got all these different pan flutes. So you could go to like pan flute 4. Right, so tons of stuff to play with. A fun library. It's finally made its way to Unify, and it's all ready for Unify 2. So if you need bells and winds, this is the definitive place to go to get all sorts of that kind of stuff. And plucks and all that. Just lots of inspiration. So hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for support if you grabbed the library, and we'll see you in the next video. Okay?